Hey everybody, how are you?
All right, fine, Jason. How you doing today?
I mean, all things considered,
I know.
we're all doing the best we can. So,
Our new normal.
yeah. Well, hey, I wanted to thank you guys for first off applying to Startup Row for PyCon 2020. Um, Obviously, as I'm sure everybody is very well aware, the actual conference, the in-person conference itself was canceled this year due to an ongoing global public health emergency, and we wanted to be able to deliver some of the experience of being exposed to the broader Python community to Startup Row companies, even though we weren't able to all convene in person, and all the rest. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to join me this morning. I'm super excited to ask you guys some questions, get a little bit of your backstory, and figure out what where you guys are going next and how the broader Python community might be able to help get you there. So
Sounds real good.
excellent, excellent. Um, we should start probably a little bit at the beginning. Wallace uh,
Asanka.
Asanka, I'm so my apologies. I told you I would get I would mispronounce your name the second time, but not the first. Wallace and Asanka, what's your background? How did you guys, start? How did you guys, get into the Python community? How did you guys start working together? What's the sort of origin story here?
Yeah, so I'll go first, Asanka. I started using Python, God, almost 20 years ago when it rolled over to version 2, and that was in 2000. And ironically, I was working at CDC. I retired from CDC last year. I was up doing the anthrax investigation, and we were converting very large files, laboratory result files. And I was writing a lot of C code, and then I switched over to Python just because I had time. We were doing most of the stuff overnight. And I really enjoyed it. So I kept going on. And in Atlanta, there's a strong Python community. So I participated in the meetups, went to the PyCon conferences in Atlanta, then went to the one in San Jose, and really enjoyed going to the conferences. And then when I formed up with Asanka this past year, applying for Startup Road just was a natural. We enjoy the Python community. We see it as a good opportunity to get our product out there, to hear positive and negative feedback if there is any, and just really share with the community, because I really appreciate the strength of the Python community. But Asanka and I, we met last year. We incorporated in the US in January of this year, and we've been going very strong since then. Asanka, I'll turn it over to you now.
Okay, so I actually started going into Python sometime last year, because after I met Wallace, I was more interested to bring in Python support to our IDE as well, because we met around April last year. And one of the things that Wallace wanted to see in our IDE was the support for Python. And we always knew that Python was kind of like the second most widely used language for serverless functions, especially on AWS. And initially we added support for Node.js, and Python was always there at the back of our minds. We need to do this. And meeting Wallace kind of like expedited the implementation, and around July we initially got the initial support for Python out, and then we kind of like kept extending it. And this year we are able to even remotely debug Python functions executing on AWS. We have not yet released it. We were waiting to release that at PyCon, the event, but it got a little bit delayed, but we are making progress and we are about to do that. So I'm a bit new to Python, but I have engineers on our team who are more skilled than me in using Python, and I'm enjoying what I have learned so far, and it's exciting to work with Python, especially for Lambda functions.
Very cool. So, you guys are sort of hinting a little bit about what you guys are working on, but what's the sort of what's your like pitch for SLAppforge? Like what is it? Why would somebody choose to use your platform over something else? Tell me about it.
So we have a completely serverless integrated development environment. And everybody sort of rolls their eyes when they hear, oh my God, another development environment. Well, here's the challenge with serverless. The whole concept about serverless architectures, it's low or no code solutions. And so what you're doing is you're piecing together services either through configuration items or just a little bit of code. And there's a lot of tooling that's being done for serverless architectures, but ironically, they're all installing gobs of software on the developer's machine.
Yeah.
If you've ever worked in a large enterprise, that's technical debt that the enterprise has to take on. And a lot of times you get components that you really don't want. You don't even know you're getting, say, for example, node pull down when you install one of the frameworks. I mean, it's just some surprises like that. And my background's in information security and in leadership, and I know what it takes to manage all these tools. And so when you have a technology that's truly ephemeral, meaning as soon as you close out the browser, code disappears. There's nothing installed on a developer's workstation. And so what that means is in highly regulated environments, developers can work without having to install and keep software tools up to date. They can work with a true serverless environment. They can migrate or move from one product to another without having to stand up special environments. So it gives developers a lot of flexibility. So I understand people always look, they have their favorite IDEs, but ours is very unique in that once you close out that browser tab, I mean, the code is gone. There's nothing on your workstation that remains. It could be a compliance issue or a security issue.
Well, Asanka, I know that you wanted to give a little demo of it, and I don't think Wallace could have done any better of giving a good transition to doing that. You want to show us what you guys are working on?
Yes, sure. Let me share my screen.
Sure, take a moment.
So this is the view of the Sigma IDE. And one of the things is, for example, if you change your code, let me show you. I have my Alexa developer console. I was just working with a Alexa app with the Sigma IDE. And if I ask a question on Alexa, it is actually going into the Lambda function that has been developed behind the scenes. And as you can see,
Your Chinese animal is a dragon. Want to know something else? Apparently you are confident, enthusiastic, intelligent.
so how this is executing is, this is a typical Lambda function implemented in Python. And the way the logic flows is that, when you say what is the year of your birth, we just pick it up and go through a DynamoDB query and get the result and send it back to Alexa. Now, if I want to iteratively develop, so I want to say your Chinese animal from Python, maybe I just change the line, and what I can do is from within the IDE, I can do something called a quick deployment. And what happens is within about 3 seconds, this change is being pushed to executing Lambda function live on Amazon. So next time when I go into the Amazon console and actually invoke this same invocation, the updated code is executed.
Your Chinese animal from Python is a dragon.
And
want to know something else? Apparently you are confident, enthusiastic, intelligent.
And the thing is, like within about 3 seconds, you can push live code changes from within your IDE into live AWS environment. I mean, even if you ask your hardware device Alexa, it will directly execute the updated code in about 3-second iterations. So it's very fast for developers to actually run this. And if you're testing it locally, I mean, during development, you can directly execute it from within your IDE. And as you can see, the log is displayed right below your code. Typical to a standard IDE, you don't have to go to CloudWatch and look at it. And the other advantage is, if you want to develop code, we have a unique ability which is not there in traditional browsers. So I'll just delete this DynamoDB code aspect. And what I'm going to do is, I'm a developer, I might not know all the APIs of AWS or Google Cloud Platform, etc. So if I want to deal with the DynamoDB, I just drag the DynamoDB and drop it where I want the code to be placed. So when I drop it, an option comes up, and it's going to show me what are the tables I already have defined in my AWS account. I can select the operation. For example, I want to get a document, and I want to use the variable year. And when I say inject, this code is actually generated for me. So I don't have to look for sample code on the internet, copy and paste it, change variables, and kind of like get it to work into my environment. The dependency, once I do this, the dependency for the library and everything is generated for me. So it's very fast for the developer, because you can just click here again and go and change the table or the variable, etc., and you can get back to development. And similarly for other resources like RDS or S3 Event Bridge, for all those we have the drag and drop capability. So it's very much faster, because people don't have to remember the APIs. You can drag and drop, but still live in the code environment, which can be checked into typical virtual version control systems. And the other advantage is you don't have a CLI, and you don't have a local execution. Whatever you save here is directly saved on your VCS and pushed to Amazon Live. So you don't have to build it on your laptop and push it into Amazon or Google Cloud Platform. It is already there. That's why within 3 seconds we can update the code. So I think that's a very quick introduction to what we have done.
Wow. Well, that's really cool. So where did you say you guys were at? I mean, obviously you guys have a working product. I'm sure that there's obviously more, features and functionality that you guys have on your, product roadmap and technical roadmap. But, where are you guys at right now in terms of getting this out in front of folks? Do you have folks using it? Do you have folks paying for it? Where are you guys at on that front?
Yeah, we have about 1,800, as last count, I would call freemium users that have signed up over the months. We had hoped to see some acceleration based on our activities early in the year with the serverless days events. But, that's been continuing at a steady pace.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have a medium-sized enterprise that's in the fintech space. Asanka can comment a little bit more because it's a relationship he developed. But they're actually using it because they're in a more regulated environment,
mm-hmm.
and they're attracted to not having to install so many components for software development, and
Right.
give them a safe space to operate. Go ahead, Asanka.
Yeah, let me add something to that. So we actually had 2 white label deployments over the past year and a half, and one was for a shorter period of time. That was for again for a fintech sandboxing environment related to a lot of banks coming together to generate a sandbox platform for developers to play with their APIs and quickly deploy and develop applications. So what we did was we also brought in addition to the AWS and Google resources, we created a facility, custom facility in that white label deployment for the bank's APIs to be available for drag and drop into the palette of the code. So for example, if a particular bank is having exchange rate API, you can drag it and drop it into your code palette, and the code to call that API is automatically generated for you. So you just have to do the actual logic what you are going to do with after calling that service. So after that particular project was for the ASEAN region. So they actually stopped the project sometime later after about a year, but we got a significant revenue from that white label deployment because they wanted to get that thing started up. A lot of large banks and enterprises were around that. Then sometime from middle of last year, we got another UK based fintech company called the Fintech Sandpit. So they are also doing a very much similar thing, and they are a paying customer to us as well. And they have been paying during the past months and up to now. So what we do for them is we have a white label deployment, again, targeting fintechs where they have a marketplace and some other APIs. And the banks actually drag and drop APIs and develop projects. And this is a very quick way for people to sandbox and quickly develop applications, because with Lambda, you don't have to reserve servers or obtain approvals to purchase computing power or anything. I mean, for very low cost, you can actually create something and without the infrastructure cost and without the overhead of dealing with traditional architectures or frameworks.
Mm-hmm.
You can very quickly get started with sandboxing and experimentation and gain a lot of outcome very fast.
That's fabulous. So, and congratulations on generating revenue. That's a big milestone in
Oh yeah.
obviously any company's life. And I mean, especially in this environment to continue having customers that are paying is really fantastic. So congratulations on that front.
Thank you, Jason.
Um, so what do you guys feel like that you guys could use some help with, right? There's some number of folks from the Python community are going to be watching this. What are ways that folks can help out? Is it just using using the product and providing feedback? Is it providing perhaps introductions to potential enterprise customers? What are some things that folks can do to help you guys along on your journey?
Yeah, the early on, Sanka and I talked, and most of our challenge was around visibility. There's so many players in the serverless tool space or development tool space, easily with the mix of products. So getting visibility, we had a lot of momentum going in early 2020 with being selected for the Cardiff Serverless Days to do a workshop. But what would help would be continued visibility. And we see our most likely customers as enterprise customers, those that have compliance challenges with their development environments. That goes into financial services space, government, you name it, anybody that has to manage a large environment.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to get those introductions would really help and help us partner better. And we're trying to develop that on our own. But again, we just got started early this year.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the rug was pulled out from us. But anyway, we're still optimistic that we can continue, but also the feedback from other developers. And we understand that most developers have their favorite IDE,
Mm-hmm.
but we see us as also hobbyists that might come in and out of development work for serverless architectures where they can't remember, say, how to use all the particular tools. By using our drag and drop features, they don't have to hunt around for sample code. They can just pull it off from their toolbox and it populates what's needed. So that's really where I think we could get the most help. The feedback, maybe some enterprise introductions, and then some additional discussion in the community.
Oh, well, fantastic. It's my sincere hope that anybody who's watching this that is in a position to either give what you guys are working on a quick spin, to give it a try. Otherwise, if anybody here knows any folks who would be interested in becoming a customer, obviously I'm sure that would be more than welcome, on your part as well. So I guess to conclude, where are people able to learn more about what you're working on? Follow you guys, personally. Where's the best place to reach out to you guys?
I'll let you take it, Sanka. Go ahead.
Yes. So our website is www.SLAppforge.com, and our IDE is also hosted on the same domain. Once you go to SLAppforge.com, it's sigma.slappforge.com. And one of the ways we can be helped is by giving us the feedback on how useful these features are and what else is required. For example, we were the first IDE to allow live Lambda functions to be debugged, and we did it in last July with the Sigma IDE. That is not for Python at that time, but we did it for Node.js. But we want to do it for Python as well. And that was the very first time that anybody could place a breakpoint in a executing Lambda function, which was executing within the live AWS environment, and step through and figure out what was going wrong, possibly in a code. So we have done those things, but it was quite difficult for us to get any visibility because before incorporating in the US earlier this year, our technical team is based off Sri Lanka, so we were at a slightly disadvantageous position. That's why when I met Wallace last year, we discussed and thought, okay, this technology is quite good and ready for wider use, and we have to bring it to the US and make people aware of what we had done.
Great. Well, I wanted to thank both of you guys for taking some time this morning for to talk with me and share with the broader Python community what you guys are working on. I sincerely hope that anybody who's watched, what we talked about, finds what you're working on interesting, and if they're in a position to help to offer it. If you guys have anything else you want to say,
no, we appreciate the time, and we look forward to hearing from the community.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to it as well. Anyways, guys, I wanted to thank you so much, and we'll follow up soon.
All right.
Thank you, Jason.